I want to go ahead and say this, but I'm holding out until to Act 3 to finalize this thought. Okay, but I want to go ahead and put a marker down right here.
Yeah, and I think all of us should do that. We don't know the end.
So here's the marker that I'm putting out. I don't like that Vander's back. I hope that when they're saying that his mind is gone and that he's never coming back, if you're going to do this, I really hope that's true. Because I feel like this is rerunning something. Okay, so we had in season 1, I don't like rerunning plots unless it's a situation that the actual characters in the story you're supposed to pick up on, like we got a cycle of violence, we got a break. Like if you do a cycle of violence, the characters may see that and need to pick up on that but I'm talking about, I don't like rerunning a plot. We've already had a situation where Vander came in as a monster to save Jinx and to save Vi and Powder. That was
like Monster Light compared to.
I know it's like Monster, but it's okay. But it's still the idea that all of a sudden he's hopped up on all these drugs and he comes out and he is gonna go. He's gonna go kill Silco, and then he realizes that Vi is in danger and whatever, and gets them out. We've already seen that on screen. And now, okay, hey, let's make him a bigger monster and let's have him show up and get Powder out of the jail, and all of that. I'm like, you've already done this. You've already done this.
Except that his presence coming into this storyline has revitalized it. So if he comes in and it felt like shoddy storytelling, then I would be very irritated. But when it works, then you got to. My rule is always, why is it working? And my answer has been because it restores the sacred fire aspect to both Vi and Jinx. That's why I think it works. And I was going to point out, we have this flashback sequence, which I believe restores the sacred fire, the origin, the source fire of our two heroines. And the next scene is fire symbolism. It's got Jinx holding the torch, moving around in the darkness, like immediately. So probably by accident, right? I think these things are subconscious if I'm interpreting them properly. But if it's true, then you have fire symbolism immediately, and it's by Jinx holding the fire. And she waves this thing around until she finds out what's going on in this tunnel. And then there's the hugging scene you didn't like.
Yeah. I was like,
I liked it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I don't know that the return of this person from the dead is, Gandalf did it, but that was the OG.
Well, but resurrections, by the way, and this doesn't have anything to do with the hero's journey or the heroine's labyrinth. There are multiple other archetypal designs that seem to appear, and resurrection is one of them. Neo does it at the end of Matrix. Gandalf does it. Obi-Wan Kenobi does it. Like, it happens a lot. I just watched The Dark Crystal, and Kira comes back at the end. So, like, the resurrection, the resurrected characters are not uncommon. I do think there's archetypal reasoning for that. I think we as human beings have a tough time letting go of people. And in our stories, they get to come back. And sometimes they come back to great effect, and other times as a cheap ploy. So far, I feel like this has been to great effect, but it sounds like you're a little bit more on the cheap.
I really hope this, that's why I like the hugging scene to me is I wish we didn't have that kind of thing, because I think it would be a fantastic subversion of that kind of trope if they thought that maybe he was there, but he is also completely gone. That you realize that he cannot come back, because we have you're talking about what's the only thing that can reconcile these two sisters? Family. We've talked about that. Except for their father is dead. And so, so that's a very powerful message. The only thing that can reconcile these two sisters after that is if their father comes back from the dead. But that's not something that happens. So why would we put that in? So the Titterpig for $10 says, if the hug scene had been at the end of season 2, episode 3, the monster restored to life, the family reunited as an inversion of the end of season 1, episode 3, the monster dead, family broken, it would have been peak storytelling. I completely agree. I completely agree with this. I completely
Well, I don't disagree.
I would be more accepting of this if they had done that, because then you would have had, because I really wanted that season 2, episode 3 to hit really hard emotionally. They went with the Kate becomes a dictator thing. I think you're right. If you're going to pursue this storyline, I completely 100% agree with you, Sable. Put that at the season episode 3 mark. 100% agree.
So just to back you guys up on this, this is what I'm talking about, where you make too many structural errors early on in your story. You are now stuck with that, and it starts to affect the rest of your story. So those first 3 episodes, now that I see where this is going, are really more and more and more unnecessary. Now we'll see how it ends. Maybe Act 3 ties it all together in a brilliant way. Who knows? But right now, I don't even see the purpose of Act 1. Everyone was saying that it was absolutely necessary to show, a dead stop, remorse, grief for, a long stretch. And I disagreed with it. I disagreed with it then because you don't have conflict. You should have did a time skip and gone right to conflict, because that's where your story is. Now, anyone could come in and make a case, well, it's important to show this and it's important to show that. The people who say that, you have to write it. You have to be a writer. You have to try to do that and see if it slows down your story. Now, Brianna is a writer. So, when she says it, it's like, well, okay. But I think that you don't need to do it. Or it seemed like the one thing that Brianna and I were starting to agree on were perhaps it was a poorly timed moment to try to tie these things together, because it's leading off season 2. So there were so many structural problems. And now that I'm seeing where the real secret center of gravity is moving, I feel like I was right that they did not set those up. They wasted those episodes with garbage setup.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, and I think you could be right. 2 different kind of modes of analysis here, because, to go back to what Titterpig was talking about right there, the way they are structuring the story, the end of episode 3 is setting the tone for the entire. The story is setting its theme up. It's saying what you're going to do, and so because that was in season 1. I mean that Silco's embrace of Powder at the end of that was so emotional and set the whole tone for the whole rest of everywhere we're going, which turned it all on its head and sent it where it was going. So when I saw, okay, we are ending with Kate becoming a dictator, that to me really defined where I thought the story was going. It turns it on its head. She was such a nice girl. She's going on a villain arc. We're turning this on its head. We're going in this direction, dealing with the creation of another monster that Vi has also created, and how we I understand there was some difference of opinion in the comments about who created Kate as a dictator for going that direction. If this was going to be a story about family redemption, then I think Titterpig is completely right. Put that as your final scene of episode 3. That's what I think. That would have redefined what the story was. That would have redefined what the story was.
Right. So what's weird is I think we're more in agreement than we all think. I believe that were this written correctly, more economically, more efficient, more to the point, putting the conflicts front and center. And by the way, conflict, everyone needs to understand what conflict is in terms of writing. It's relationships. Relationship between Zaun and Piltover, between Vi and Powder, between Jinx and Vi, between Silco and Jinx. All of these relationships is where you find the real invisible power of conflict. And what they were doing before was the standalone, I'm grieving. There's no relationship there. You're just watching characters be like, this sucks, I'm mad. And, that's less interesting than direct conflict. So I think if they moved right into conflict, if these writers here that we're watching now, I know it's Amanda Overton and the crew, I think if they started with Act 2, or at least the end of episode 3, with the invasion of Zaun, I think that these themes would have worked. I think you could have had the peak storytelling that Sable's talking about, where you actually have some parallel structure in terms of where the themes or inversion of themes are appearing in each episode, in each season. You could have done a lot with parallels. So again, I just think that they wasted way too much time with this revolutionary throwaway that hasn't really done anything. Now, we'll see. Act 3, maybe it flips all this on its head.
I mean,
maybe the revolution comes and we're all wrong.